The first season of Belfast Giants ice hockey had taken Northern Ireland by storm. Under the slogan, "In the land of the Giants, everyone is equal," the province's newest sporting celebrities had captivated the public's imagination from the very first game at Belfast's brand new Odyssey Arena in December 2000. As hockey fever swept the country, the Giants played to capacity houses to newfound fans of the sport. The team under coach Dave Whistle had finished 6th in the Super League and reached the semi-final of the Challenge Cup. As the squad assembled to prepare for a new season, coach Whistle had been able to recruit some top-quality new additions. On the blue line, Chad Allen arrived from the American Hockey League, and Taran Sandwith brought to Belfast the experience for playing for Edmonton in the NHL. Kurt Bowen had represented Team Canada and also played for Nottingham and Manchester in the Super League. Dave Matsos had also international experience with Team Canada. He'd made it to Belfast via the German 2nd Division. Jason Ruff was Coach Whistle's #1 off-season target. Most recently he'd played in the DEL for the Frankfurt Lions, but in the NHL he'd seen action for both St. Louis and Tampa Bay. And goalie Mike Beals was the 6th and final new signing. Drafted by Boston, Mike had made his NHL debut for the Bruins before moving to the Ottawa Senators. They had joined a familiar list of names to Giants supporters: Jeff Hode, Colin Ward, Paxton Schulte, Mark Cavill, Jason Bowen, Shane Johnson, Rod Stevens, Kevin Real, Rob Stewart, and last but never least, Todd the Killer Kelman. The action got underway in late August with a 4-team pre-season tournament, the BT Together Belfast Ice Cup. Big-time ice hockey was back in Belfast for its 2nd season, and the Giants took on Ice Baron Berlin in their opening game. The German clubs were supposed to be the best in Europe, but the Giants fans didn't have to wait long to cheer the first goal of the season. 98 seconds to be exact, Todd Kelman found Kevin Real. He applied the brakes and fired home the first goal. The Giants led for only 44 seconds, however, before Berlin equalised, delighting their own travelling support. In a Giants shirt for the first time, Kurt Bowen showed he wouldn't be messed with. And it was another explosive start to the second period, and one with a feeling of déjà vu. Kurt stepped out of the penalty box, stole the puck, centred for Jeff Hode, who in turn laid the puck off to the Rocket Rod Stevens, and he flipped it in from close range. This time the Giants held the lead for 2 minutes and 4 seconds before Berlin levelled again. But the Giants regained the lead. This time Jeff Hode walked out of the penalty box, and Kevin Real's pass picked him out from behind the net. But concentration was the key word. But just 23 seconds later, Mark Fortier made it 3-3. And with just over 8 minutes to go in the period, Berlin took the lead for the first time when Beals made an excellent save, but the rebound fell kindly to Fortier, who scored his 2nd of the game. The Giants again made a quick start to the final period, and they got the goal they richly deserved with just over 11 minutes to go when Colin Ward struck at the heart of the Berlin defence. It was all Giants, and Todd Kelman's goal with 2:15 to go from Jason Ruff's pass looked to have given Dave Whistle's side a magnificent win. But with 15 seconds to go in normal time, the Germans equalised through Steve LaRouche to make it 5-5. It was on to overtime, and the teams couldn't be separated. So it was on to the dreaded penalty shootout, while Berlin scored their first 3 penalties while the Giants missed one of theirs. But with their 4th penalty, Mike Beals stopped, and Jeff Hode had a chance to level matters for the Giants. And Hodey made no mistake. So could Beals pull off one more save? The answer, of course, was yes. And that left Kurt Bowen with the chance to be a hero, this to win the opening match of the BT Ice Cup. Curtis made no mistake, did the fist pump just for good luck, and the Giants had won their opening game 6-5 over Berlin. Day 2 saw the Giants take on the London Knights, who had beaten Frankfurt in their opening game. Their new signing Trevor Roenick capitalised on a turnover in the Giants' zone to make it 1-0 after less than 3.5 minutes. And just 33 seconds later, Steve Thornton gobbled up a rebound after Mark Cavalin had made the original save for Maurizio Mansi. The Giants had 4 power plays, 27 shots, and this Todd Kelman goal disallowed in the opening period as Knights goalie Trevor Robbins stood tall. Once again, the Giants pressed hard at the start of the second session, and at last their dominance paid dividends. After recycling the puck in the Knights' end, Jason Ruff scored his first goal as a Giant, committing Robbins before tucking the puck home. 5 minutes later, and the Giants were level after good work around the boards by Kurt Bowen and Dave Matsos. The puck eventually found its way to Jason Bowen. His shot hit Paxton Schulte, who turned and fired home the equaliser. With overtime looming, a shot from the blue line by Mansi was tipped in front by Paul Rushforth, who just happened to be in the right place at the right time. There were just 12 seconds left on the clock. And so the Belfast Giants would finish the Ice Cup with another good performance, but come up just short in a penalty shootout loss to the Frankfurt Lions. It was another slow start, with the Giants making a defensive mistake capitalised after just 29 seconds by Rick Gerard. The Giants, however, had most of the pressure, but the sucker punch came again after 6.5 minutes when Victor Gervais was found all alone with time and space to beat Mike Bales. The Giants did pull a deserved goal back. Kevin Rial was the provider, and his pass found Todd Kelman, who scored his second goal of the tournament. The Germans regained their 2-goal lead before the interval on a 5-on-3 power play, Gervais getting his second, beating Bales over his left shoulder. The Giants made a fast start to the second period, and with Gervais in the penalty box, they moved within a goal on the power play, when Shane Johnson's slap shot from just inside the blue line was beautifully screened in front by big Jason Ruff. The new Giants forward was having a big impact on the game, and with just over 5 minutes of the second period to go, he helped pull the home team level against his former employers. Eventually the game would go to that sudden death penalty shootout once more, and Gerard was the only scorer. This time Kurt Bowen couldn't be the hero again, his shots just going wide. It was another terrific game to finish an excellent tournament that was won by the London Knights, who won all of their 3 games. So hopes were high as the Giants took to the Odyssey Ice for their first Super League game of the season. Their opponents should have been the defending champions, the Sheffield Steelers, but while they still searched for players, the London Knights were ready, willing and able to take their place. And how? The Giants' hopes of getting off to a fast start were dashed with an early penalty to Kurt Bowen, and Mike Bales had to pull off a couple of early saves on the penalty kill. He could do nothing, however, at 3:42. Paul Rushforth's shot was blocked, but the puck fell kindly to Visio Sacratini, who made no mistake. The two players combined again shortly afterwards to make it 2-0 Knights. Another turnover deep in their own zone by the Giants opened the way for Kim Alrus to make it 3 before the 14-minute mark. The home team were being outworked and outplayed, but finally before the end of the first period they got on the score sheet. Jason Ruff's pass was tipped in by Rod Stevens for the Giants' first goal of the league campaign. After only 24 seconds of the middle period, the comeback seemed to be well and truly on. Kevin Rial turned and fired the puck past Knights goalie Trevor Robbins. It was, however, a false dawn. Ian McIntyre's goal opened up the 2-goal advantage for the Knights once again. Then Ruff took a 4-minute penalty for high sticking, and the Knights added 2 more power play goals. The first came from Paul Rushforth, And then Trevor Roenick, brother of NHL superstar Jeremy, made the score 6-2. Another giveaway led to number 7 for Mike Barry before the period finished. More misery was heaped on the Giants in the final 20 minutes as McIntyre got his second. And although Colin Ward gave the home fans something to cheer about, Mike Barry would make the final score 9-3. It was the heaviest home defeat the Giants had suffered and the most inauspicious start to the season.
Yeah, I don't know. It was not a good result for us, that's for sure. I think we just started out way too slow, and they were ready to play, and we weren't.
That game was at the Centrum Arena on the west coast of Scotland. The opponents were the Ayr Scottish Eagles, and if the Giants needed a pick-me-up, they got it. Colin Ward would strip Joachim Gage of the puck, and Captain Jeff Hode opened the scoring after just 10 seconds. The fastest goal ever in the history of the Giants. It was important for the Giants to control the game and bounce straight back from the embarrassment against London. On the power play, Hode had 2 chances that Gage saved, but on hand was Chad Allen to knock home the rebound for his first goal as a Giant. There was no scoring in the second period as Mike Beale shut the door on the Ayr forwards, and the Giants got the all-important third goal just over 5 minutes into the final session. It came on the power play again. Jason Ruff set up Paxton Schulte. That made the game safe, but then Todd Kelman came out of the penalty box in the last minutes to score the empty net goal. Bales made 20 saves in the 4-0 shutout win. It took 40 games of the first season for the Giants to record a shutout. This time, it had taken just 2. Payback is what the Giants wanted as they made their first trip to the Dolphins Arena in London, but they wouldn't get it. The game started well enough with Kevin Riel sneaking in the opening goal after just 1 minute of play, but once Trevor Roenick had left over Mike Beales to equalise short-handed, the tide turned. Kurt Bowen and Ian McIntyre decided to liven proceedings up, but the fight seemed to affect the Giants more as they lost concentration and conceded 3 goals in just over 3.5 minutes. Another bad pass from their own zone left Roenick time and space to pick his spot and beat Bales top shelf. And the Giants goalie was then unlucky when Steve Thornton banged the puck in off his pad. Mike Barry's one-timer from the left circle broke the game wide open before the end of the second period. Paxton Schulte then decided to take out his frustration on London Knights' Mike Ware. You would have thought the London player would have learnt his lesson from this incident, but as the season progressed, the answer would be no. Mike Barry had added to the Knights' lead again before the Giants had the final say. Riel finished the game as he started with a goal, but it was too little, too late. The Giants then made the journey north for their first visit to the National Ice Centre to take on the Nottingham Panthers. Jason Bowen and Clayton Norris had their first of their annual get-togethers on the ice, minus sticks and gloves of course. It was the Panthers that got their noses in front, however, with 2 quick goals. The first came from defenceman Jimmy Dwallet. And then Claude Savoy would capitalise on an errant pass from Giants goalie Mark Haviland. Back came the Giants, however, when Rod Stevens threaded the proverbial needle to make the score 2-1 at the end of the first period. Early in the second period, however, Patrick Wallenberg would reopen the 2-goal cushion for the Panthers. Jason Ruff, however, closed that gap once more to just a goal. But in this game, the Giants would just never get on level terms. Cal Carlson pinched in to make the score 4-2. And although Ruff would get his second on the power play, redirecting Paxton Schulte's shot from the point, the Giants tried in vain to secure a point. The Giants' 5-game road trip took them to Manchester next, and they had to battle back from 2 goals down. It was old boy Paul Ferrone, who popped up on the blind side to open the scoring as the clock ticked down at the end of the second period. Then Dwight Parrish blue line shot with the man advantage meant the Giants had a mountain to climb going into the final 20 minutes. The comeback began when Colin Ward's pass was picked up by Jeff Hode and his wicked slap shot beat Storm goalie Mike Torcha all ends up. The Giants outshot the Storm 16-1 in the final period, and the deserved equaliser came on the power play. Shane Johnson's shot tipped in front by Jason Ruff. And the Giants had themselves a well-deserved road point. Next up on the Giants' road trip was the beautiful county of Berkshire, where they took on the Bracknell Bees. Jeff Hode almost opened the scoring in the first period. But it would be the Bees who would take the lead on the power play with just 33 seconds left in the period. Brad Peddle's shot going in off Turan Sandwith. The Giants, however, would equalise in the second period with a power play goal of their own. Curtis Bowen and Jason Ruff involved in the action. Eventually Kevin Real would get the puck on the tip of his stick and would make no mistake. There would be no further scoring in the final period, although Giants goalie Mike Beals decided to mete out some punishment on Steve O'Rourke. 1-1 the final score, another good point on the road for Dave Whistle's men. Up to this point in the season, Giants coach Dave Whistle had been looking for the final piece to his jigsaw puzzle. He eventually found 25-year-old Chicago native Sean Berens, who became the lone American on the Giants roster. His transatlantic move had been helped by former Giants favourite Corey Carlander, who had told him what a great place Belfast was to play. He stepped off a plane from Chicago and straight onto the ice for the game against the Nottingham Panthers. Whistle decided to put him on his top line with Kevin Real and Jason Ruff. Certainly a case of the little and large show. The Giants took the lead with Jeff Hode deflecting Chad Allen's shot. But Patrick Wallenberg would level at the start of the second period. From then on, however, it was the Sean Berens show. He scored his first goal after great work by Kevin Real. Then on the power play, assisted on Paxton Schulte's goal. And although Wallenberg scored his second of the game, Berens would complete his man-of-the-match performance by rounding off the 4-2 victory.
First impressions, stepping into the arena with those types of fans screaming and yelling, it was really breathtaking. It's a place that I'd like to play for a long time, and great fans and great support. So what can you say? I know that they were hurting for players, and the guys were a little tired, so I'm here, and trip or not, I'd like to help my teammates out and get there and give them a little rest if I could. 24 hours later, the Giants met the Ayr Scottish Eagles.
Despite losing their opening game to the Giants, the Eagles had been setting the early pace in the Super League when they visited the Odyssey for the first time. There were a number of early penalties, including a roughing call on Chad Allen, and the Eagles took the first period lead. A mix-up in the Giants' defence led to a bizarre deflected goal by Dodie Wood. Colin Ward was denied by Joachim Gage between the pipes for air, while his opposite number, Mike Bales, was settling into life in the Super League very well. This was a big save from Merrick Norbach. The Giants were beginning to get into their stride and took the lead with a double strike from Jason Ruff. First, he latched on to a terrific pass from Kevin Riel, and then showed his speed and power to crash the net for number 2. In the end, Gage was pulled for the extra attacker, leaving the empty net. Bales made the save, the Giants controlled the puck, and Jeff Hoad would round off the game and the 3-1 win. The Giants' unbeaten streak had reached 4 games, and they'd only conceded 6 goals in those matches. The hot streak continued with an emphatic 5-2 win over Ayr at the Centrum Arena. In a serious case of déjà vu, the Giants struck early on the first shift of the game. It took slightly longer than 10 seconds, 26 to be precise, for Colin Ward to open the scoring. Then it was Super Sean Berens' turn to get in on the act. He took Rod Stewart's pass and fired it into the open net. The Eagles would get back into the game. After just a minute and a half of the second period, Great Britain international Jonathan Weaver applied the finish. But the Giants would very quickly regain that 2-goal advantage. This time, all the recycling work done by Jeff Hoad and Rod Stevens. Stevens eventually getting the final touch and holding his stick up, well, almost apologetically. Kevin Riel wouldn't be outdone either. Sean Berens had the initial chance. Well, he got the puck again in the corner, fired it across to Jason Ruff. And eventually Sean would provide the pass for Kevin Riel to knock home the Giants' 4th goal. The Eagles did manage the 2nd goal of the game. This time they won the battle of the boards, and the puck would eventually find its way to Rhett Gordon, who would score to close the gap to 4-2. But Sean Berens was making his name in a Belfast Giants shirt, and this only his 2nd game. He would take the air zone, drop the puck to Chad Allen. His shot would be saved by Gage, but there on the doorstep, Sean Berens to score his 2nd of the night. The final score, the Giants beating the Eagles by 5-2. That result meant that the Giants were in a 3-way tie for the top of the Super League. It meant a win against Bracknell when they made their first trip to the Odyssey would see the Giants take to the top of the Super League for the first time in their history. But Bracknell weren't going to make it easy. Sam Fatorik opened the scoring. Kurt Bowen hadn't scored in a Giants shirt. Well, he rectified that little statistic with this super shot from the slot. 1-1 going into the 2nd period, and then came the patented Sean Berens move around the back of the net and roofing the puck from an impossible angle.
The Giants came out for the start of the final period, leading by 2-1. However, Colin Ward took a penalty, and on the power play, Bracknell would take full advantage. Dan Saman coming in to level the scores at 2-2. Giants old boy Todd Goodwin caught Shane Johnson with an accidental high stick, forcing Shane to leave the ice for treatment. With just 1 minute 51 seconds on the clock, the Giants got the game-winning goal. Jason Ruff from behind the net on the power play to Paxton Schulte, and the Giants led 3-2. Dave Whistle drew pretty designs on his board. Whatever he said worked, because Rod Stevens would add the empty net goal. The Giants would win the game by 4-2, and they would sit proudly for the first time in their history at the top of the Super League. "24 hours later, the Manchester Storm made their first trip to Belfast. And that would mean a return for Giants old boy Paul Ferrone. There was no scoring in the first period, although Kurt Bowen was caught by an accidental high stick. But the Giants couldn't capitalise on the power play. Jeff Hogue going close, Stevie Lyle with the save. Then came Colin Ward with one of those moves up the centre of the ice, but again Stevie Lyle stood tall. Into the second period now, the Giants needed a break, and they got it when Kurt Bowen's pass to the front of the net took a deflection and found Rod Stevens all alone. The Rocket wouldn't have an easier finish all season. Well, just sometimes you can't keep a good man down. Colin Ward picked up the puck at centre ice, through the dummy, and easily beat Stevie Lyle. But Manchester weren't going to lie down. They pulled a goal back through Justin Hocking. And then came the moment the crowd wanted at the Odyssey. Paxton Schulte and Paul Ferrone locking horns. To be absolutely honest, this really wasn't much of a scrap. A case of handbags at 6 paces. Another grandstand finish, another empty net. Rod Stevens padding out those statistics again with a beautiful finish. "3-1 the final score. The Giants were definitely on an early season roll.
I'm Mark Cavelin. I played with Team Canada in 95 and 96.
I'm Shane Johnson. I played the national team in 97-98.
I'm Taran Sanwith. I played the national team in 95-96.
I'm Kurt Bowen. I played with Team Canada 95-96 and 97-98.
David Matzels. I played for Team Canada 95-96.
I'm Rod Stevens, and I played with the national team in 97-98.
We go around to communities and promote the game of hockey, and we also play in international tournaments all over Europe.
It was the best experience of my life to be able to, feel like you're able to give back to your country. And I can remember the first time that we went, the first game in Europe was in France, and when they played the national anthem, and you're in another country, and there's just 20 Canadians out there with their Team Canada jerseys on, and it really meant a lot. The whole year was just an incredible experience.
The coach when I was there was Andy Murray. He's now coaching the LA Kings in the NHL. He's a super guy, really intelligent coach. All the players really identified with him.
I think I had an outside chance. I was kind of lucky. The assistant coach kind of knew me from before. He just asked me to come out, sort of thing. And it was just on a trial basis, but it just went from one week to the next, and I was lucky enough to stick around, so I stayed.
I think the proudest moment was we won a tournament called the Spangler Cup. It's played over Christmas in Davos, Switzerland, and it's a club tournament. There's club representatives from Finland, Sweden, Czech Republic, and the host team Davos. And our team was just, you know, I don't think we were really favored to win, but we just went in and had an excellent time, and we ended up winning the tournament.
It was a pretty unique group in that we were tight, and you know, any time that you can walk out of a season, because in our profession you're meeting, you know, almost 20 new guys every year. If you can hang on to 3 or 4 friends a year, 5 or 6 or whatever, then you know that says a lot about it.
The team was based in Calgary, and well, Calgary's a little colder than Toronto, and there was one special thing that kind of always reminded me about Calgary and the 6 of us living together is we had this boat. Actually, it's a car, but it's called the French Lady. We named it, and this French Lady it's a really big car. That's why I call it a boat, and it could hold all 6 of us. So it was pretty convenient on the really coldest mornings. You know, we'd all snuggle in together. It's kind of funny, you know. But obviously, I was the smallest guy. I was snuggled between 5 other guys, you know, in this French Lady car, driving to practice at 7 in the morning every morning, just freezing to death. But it was kind of nice. Having that many guys in a good way. Yeah. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the first time I ever came to England, actually. We played against Cardiff Devils and team Basingstoke. We always knew that there was a league over here, but you don't get too much information about it. But having seen the players and seeing the competition out here, you get a different kind of respect for the hockey that's being played.
We were playing Team Switzerland in a tour where we go into different cities all over Ontario or whatever, and we're playing them in different cities. And Johnny gets kind of hit from behind, so Andy sends about 5 of our guys and says, "Listen, go run around. Don't do anything too stupid, but scare them a little bit or whatever." So we went out there, and there was a bunch of us running around and hitting guys all over the ice. Guys were flying all over the place from their team. So they go off the ice, the period's over. And so we come out for the second period, and no team. There's no team. Finally, their coach comes out, and he says, "Listen, our guys, they refuse to come out. They don't want to come out. They're scared." So anyways, we had to promise them that we weren't gonna hurt them the rest of the game. So they finally came back on the ice. We finished the game.
You know, when we went to Japan for a goodwill games before the Olympics, when it was in Japan, and they had one player in particular on their team who was, you know, a little dirty, and so our coach said to us, you know, if he does anything else, you can fix him up. So he skated around by our goalie, and our goalie goes flying back. And he skates down the boards, and one of our guys, you know, hits him, and then another guy hits him, and their guy jumps over the boards, and pretty soon everybody's, you know, our whole team's over our bench, their whole team's over their bench. Like over at Roddy over there. He's got their trainer by the tie, yelling at him on the other side. But anyways, it was
Picked on the tough guy, did you?
Come here! It was a big international incident, and they were threatening to cancel the tour and send us all home. And it turns out that the guy never hit our goalie. He faked it all, like dove. So the stick was put away from him.
How myself and Dave Matsos came here was Mark Cavlin. I just happened to be talking to him on the phone, and all 3 of us actually lived together on Team Canada. We had a 6-bedroom house, and like 6 of us lived in this one house, so we became really, really close that year. And Dave and I had been talking previously about trying to play in the same team, you know, this season. So immediately, kind of the ball started rolling, and that's kind of how we ended up here. And then when Curtis signed around the same time, and he was saying the same thing, that when he heard we were signing, you know, he was going to sign. And there, when we knew we were all going to be able to come together and play again, that we were really excited about it. So.
The The month started with those pesky Knights visiting the Odyssey once more, and revenge was very much in the Giants' minds after that 9-3 opening night defeat. However, after just 32 seconds, Trevor Roenick opened the scoring again for the visitors. The Giants' big boys were soon in action. Jason Bowen showed that he wouldn't be messed with, and neither would Paxton Schulte. He was taken to the ice by Mike Ware, and Ware paid the price. The London player had to leave the ice for treatment for a dislocated jaw after this encounter with Paxton. The Giants needed a break, but they wouldn't get it from the referee. This goal by Kevin Real was disallowed for the net being off its moorings. In the second period now, Jeff Hode's no-look pass found Colin Ward at the back post. Wardy applied the simple finish for a 3-1 lead. But back came the Knights' Kim Alrhus getting the goal. But in this particular night, the Giants wouldn't be stopped. Kevin Real to Sean Berens, back to Kevin Real. And Real was soon in the action again, this time with the high sticking penalty. And before the end of the game, Paul Rushforth made the game close. Bob Leslie talked to his troops. And Coach Whistle explained the meaning of life to his. And again, that magical touch worked because the Giants held on for the 4-3 victory. It was the 6th win in a row for the Giants, 8 games unbeaten. And they would make that 9 games unbeaten when they made their first trip of the season to the House of Steel. The Steelers were already a goal up when Peter Lebetoulier made it 2-0 on the power play. But then Sean Berens scored what Dave Whistle described as one of the prettiest goals of the season to pull the Giants back into the game by the end of the first period. Into the second now, and Hody taking exception. Poor Colin Ward, however, had an argument with one of the posts. Wardy was just winded, however. He would soon be back on his feet. It was left to the veteran of the team, Rob Stewart, leaving Sheffield defenceman half his age in his wake as he went in to beat goalie Ian McInerney 1-on-1. 2-2 at the end of the second period. But Chris Lipset would give the Steelers the lead again early in the final 20 minutes. And with time running out, the Giants needed a goal. Well, they got one more chance on the power play. Eventually, in the scramble in front of the goal, Paxton Schulte would get the final touch to leave the final score: Giants 3, Steelers 3. Well, all good things must come to an end, and that's what happened when the Giants made another trip to the Docklands Arena. Mike Ware and Paxton Schulte had their annual heavyweight bout. And Mike Barry opened the scoring, giving the Knights a 1-0 lead at the end of the first. New signing Sean Blanchard would make it 2-0 early in the second period. And then came a double strike that would seal the game for the Knights. Both goals came short-handed, just seconds apart, and both were scored by Kim Alrhus. The Giants did get on the board, however. Kevin Real scoring. And when Rod Stevens made it 4-2 early in the third period, a comeback looked on the cards. But the Knights weren't having any of it at all. Maurizio Mansi would score their 5th goal of the night, just as the Giants had killed a penalty to Rod Stevens. Jason Ruff would make it a 2-goal game again, tipping in Sean Berens' pass. But Mike Barry would add a second before the end of the game. It was back home to the Odyssey for the first of 3 games in 4 nights. The first visitors were the Nottingham Panthers. And this would be a frustrating night for the Giants. Well, Paxton had a little altercation with Barry Nykar. Both players were given 5 for fighting. That was Paxton's 6th fight of the season, and under the new Super League rules meant he would be suspended for the next game. And things got worse before the end of the period when Ashley Tate scored what would turn out to be the only goal of the game. While Rod Stevens forced Danny Lorenz into one of his 25 saves on the night. And when he was beaten eventually by Jeff Hode, the goalie's favourite friend, the pipe, came to the rescue. And eventually the Giants would lose by 1-0. This was their 2nd home defeat of the season. It would be their last in the league campaign. Ayr came to Belfast for their 2nd visit of the season just 2 days later, sitting proudly at the top of the Super League. The game was 9 minutes old, with the Giants on the power play when Colin Ward picked the puck up in the corner, skated to the front of the net and roofed it high past Joachim Gage. The Giants would only have to wait 24 seconds for their 2nd goal. Chad Allen's shot was tipped in by Dave Matsos. And that was his first goal as a Belfast Giant. The Eagles looked to have made it a close game when Rhett Gordon scored just 3 minutes into the period number 2. Could the Giants respond? Well, the answer was an emphatic yes. Todd Kelman and Jeff Hogue combined to keep the puck in the Ayr zone. Bodie's pass found Jason Bowen, who let rip a cannon shot off the crossbar and into the net. And Bosey had the celebration dance to match his effort. 3-1 Giants. They would put the game away with 4 goals in the opening 7 minutes of the final period. First, Jeff Hode was on hand to knock home Colin Ward's pass. And then 2 breakaway goals. Sean Berens' pass would find Kurt Bowen. He would streak in all alone on Gage and beat him at the 2nd attempt. Then from behind his own net, Rob Stewart's pass found Colin Ward. And on a breakout, Wardy makes no mistake. That was his 2nd of the night, and Kurt Bowen wasn't going to be outdone. This perhaps the goal of the evening. Kevin Real's beautiful feed knocked in by Curtis. 7-1 Giants, and the game was out of the Ayr Scottish Eagles' reach. However, they didn't give in, and on the power play, Johan Silverplatz scored a consolation goal. But 7-2 to the Giants, back to the top of the Super League, and they would never be headed again. Manchester skated back into Belfast for their 2nd visit and took the first period lead. Their NHL forward Ross Romaniuk scoring with just 13 seconds left of the period. But this night belonged to Mike Beales. As goaltenders have to do, they have to keep your team in with a chance of winning the game. And Mike Beales would do that all night because up front the Giants just couldn't beat Stevie Lyle. Well, Jason Bowen took exception to something Kyle Short said to him. The quick 1-2, and Short wished he hadn't opened his mouth. Back at the other end again, Mike Beales was in unstoppable form. The Storm top scorer Mark Bulchey denied on this occasion. Into the final period, and the Giants needed a goal quickly. Well, Kurt Bowen to Sean Berens, and Berens with a backhander made the score 1-1 with 15 minutes to go. But bottom club Storm had their chances to win the game. On a 2-0 breakout, Bulchey had the chance, but Bale stoned them with the beautiful glove save. It set up a frantic finish. Chad Allen kept the puck in, and there was Sean Berens with 52 seconds on the clock to give the Giants the 2-1 win. The game was played in front of the first 7,000 capacity sellout of the season. The Giants showed that they were going to be tough to beat for the rest of the season.
We struggled early. I think like was our fourth game in 6 nights. So the guys played hard last night. Took us a while to get our legs going, and we came through in the end. We just kept working. They worked hard, and we capitalized on our chances at the end.
Well, we're in good form. You know, we've played 3 excellent games in a row. We've won 2 of them, and very pleased. I know there's some sore bodies in their dressing room right now. There's some ice packs going on. We're going to have a little skate tomorrow. I think it's good to get them out of bed early in the morning again tomorrow and get them out on the ice and have a little workout before the rest of the day happens. And we'll go back into Manchester on Sunday, and I think it's going to be a hard-fought game again. They played extremely well tonight. I think we got a lucky bounce near the end. But we played well enough to get the 2 points. So I'm very pleased. I know the players are, they paid the price to win that game, and that's what a team's all about.
The 2 sides clashed again just 2 days later in Manchester. The Giants taking the lead in the second period, Hody to Wardy, 1-0 Giants. And they sealed the victory with 3 goals in the third period. Jeff Hode was denied first of all, but then banked home his own rebound. Then Paxton Schulte set up Dave Matsos, his shot was saved, and Rob Stewart showed him how to finish. But Matsos is nothing if not a quick learner. Just a minute and a half later, Todd Kelman took the zone, found Matty. This time he made no mistake. Mike Beale's attempted second shutout of the season, however, was ended by Joseph Cardarelli. But no matter, the Giants had skated to a comfortable 4-1 victory. It was back to the National Ice Centre in a game against the Nottingham Panthers, and controversy early on. Jeff Hode's effort allowed by referee Maury Hansen, although it seemed that Colin Ward had crashed into the net, taking it off its moorings before the puck had crossed the line. Nottingham's players and their boisterous fans weren't too happy with the decision. Well, then they got a controversial power play themselves. Just to even matters up, Lee Ginman made the score 1-1. Just before the halfway point in the game, the Nottingham Panthers took the lead. PC Druin on the end of this pass to make the score 2-1. And early in the final period, captain Joel Pararier would make the score 3-1 and seal the game for the Panthers. The Giants, however, battled to the very end, in fact to the very last second, which is when they got their second goal. In this scrum in front of Danny Lorenz, somehow Kevin Real managed to get the puck over the line. Although Kurt Bowen was slightly upset by something one of the Panthers' defensemen must have said to him. It was another close result at the National Ice Centre, but the Giants went down by a single goal. They went into the game 24 hours later in Sheffield with a shortened bench. And the Steelers would take full advantage. They opened the scoring through Chris Lipset after just 2 minutes of the game on the power play. Brad Lara then forced in goal number 2, one that Mike Beals would like to have back. Two 2-0 down going into period number 2. The Steelers doubled their lead. First, Kevin Mayhem made it 3-0. And then straight from the face-off, Chris Lipset scored his second. Much to the disgust of Giants captain Jeff Hode. He wasn't ready for the puck to be dropped. And he made the referee fully clear of his feelings. Hode got the game misconduct. And the Giants were on their way to one of their heaviest defeats of the season. Into the final period, Scotty Allison had already made it 5-0 when Jeff Brown made it 6. Lipset would then complete a hat-trick, his snapshot beating Giants goalie Mark Cavalin. The Steelers had scored even-handed, and on the power play they needed a short-handed goal to complete the set. Bob Maudie obliged. But the Giants did battle to the very end, and they spoiled Ryan Bach's bit for a shutout when Kevin Riel scored at the back post. But 8-1 was the final score. However, later in the season, the Giants would wreak revenge. The 3-game road trip would end in London, and things didn't start well when Mike Barry skated the full length of the ice and squeezed the puck between Mike Bales and his near post. The Giants needed a break, and they got it halfway through the second period when Colin Ward skated in to beat Dave Trukmenikov. This was a battling performance by the Giants. Todd Kelman's strike from the blue line on the power play made the score 2-1. And they rounded off a tremendous 3-1 victory when Jason Ruff found Kevin Riel, and he makes no mistake from just in front of the crease.
He does everything.
He's just one of the best.
He's just been a tremendous asset to the team.
How you doing?
Well, Tom's our trainer. Tom, he's probably the glue to the team. He's what keeps the machine running, I guess. You know, we wake up in the morning, our bags are packing around the road, we get off the airplane, we go home, have it nice and easy, and he's got to spend another 3-4 hours at the arena. He keeps us happy, and when we're happy, we play better, so.
Played with Dave Whistle, the coach. We played growing up together, and then I quit when I was 18. I just got into this end of it.
You probably want to hear all my thoughts about him. Tom and I have been pretty good friends all our lives here for a long time. And
Who's Tom?
Mr. Blatchford.
Oh.
You know, no, I mean, like I said, Tom and I went to school together when we were kids, and we couldn't believe when he came over to visit me in Bracknell a few years back. And, you know, he knew how to sharpen skates. We needed a trainer. It's just gone from there. So.
Just the sharpener, you've seen that earlier. Just basically it's a workbench for the players and myself. Well, actually on a skate blade, there's 2 edges. It's a hollow ground. So what'll happen sometimes, one side player will lose an edge, whether it be step on somebody's stick or whatnot, and it just becomes blunt. And then the edge won't dig into the ice. It'll just slip away. So then I just have to bring it back, grind it, and just get both of those edges back. What I do with the coin, I just check to make sure that I'm grinding straight. If you grind on an angle, only one edge will be digging in. So I just, that just kind of eyeballs and gives me an idea of if I'm grinding level or off to one side. Or just the players, they notice right away if they're off a bit on an angle. They'll come and they'll say something's not right with this. I'll have to do it again. So better off doing it right the first time. They could lose an edge and, you know, slip over or whatever, and the guy can go down on a breakaway. So you got to be pretty precise. Every player has its own their own pattern. Could be a different brand name. It could be a different curve, thickness in the blade. There's a lot that comes into height. Every player has, some guys like a short stick, other guys like a real long stick, just personal preference. And they've been using the same stick for years, so they get used to it. And if you put something else in their hand, it's quite different. Their job is on the ice, and if they don't have to worry about stuff like this, then concentrate on the game a bit more. So they do their job and I do mine.
During the game, Mr. Blatchford can always be found in front of the spare sticks on the bench. It's Blatchy's job to make sure that no Giant will ever miss a shift. He's responsible for making sure that if any of the players has an equipment problem, whether it's a broken stick or a lost edge on a skate, that he's on hand to make sure they have an instant repair. During the break, he'll give the players a hand, making sure that their equipment is all right for the rest of the game. But afterwards, it's always Blatchy that's left to clear up the mess.
Just a basic cleanup, wash up the jerseys, get them ready for tomorrow, do the other laundry, the underwear, the undergarments, and towels and whatnot. General tidy of the room, just get rid of some of the garbage, and clean up the beer cans and whatnot.
November started with Bracknell back in Belfast again. After just 3 minutes of the game, Colin Ward picked the puck up in the corner, did his mazy little dribble, and found the back of the net. At the other end, Mike Bales was doing what Mike Bales does best, making big and key saves. But the Giants did take a 2-goal lead early in the second period. Dave Matsos from his knees turning the puck home. The Giants' third line of Matsos, Kurt Bowen and Paxton Schulte would turn this game on its head. Just seconds later, Matsos had the big hit, Paxton fired the puck across the crease, and there was Kurt on the end to make the score 3-0 Giants. The Bees did get on the score sheet when Brad Peddle beat Mike Bales. But in the final period, the Giants would secure the 4-1 win. Sean Berens was denied on this occasion, while Mike Bales produced that patented poke check. And the big glove save to go along with it. Well, Berens wouldn't be denied his moment of glory, set up by line mates Ruff and Riel. Sean had the easy finish. With this victory, the Giants moved 5 points clear at the top of the Super League table. Next up was a Saturday night date with the Manchester Storm. Jeff Hode opened the scoring early on. Into the second period, Ward, Stevens, Hode, Stevens, tic-tac-toe passing, and the Giants had increased their lead. Paxton Schulte, of course, had to get in on the act. He took 2+2 for high sticking, but then stepped out of the penalty box and scored the Giants' third goal. Three quick strikes in the third period would seal the victory. But not before Mark Cavalin in goals had made some heroic saves. Jeff Hode got the luck off the bounce as he netted his second of the game. Chad Allen would make it 5-0 with his second goal of the season. And Sean would make it 6-0. Paxton was then thrown out of the game for an off-the-puck incident with Mark Bulchey. And the Storm, to their credit, never let up and scored 2 late consolation goals, the first from Joe Basillo and the second from Cale Short. The Giants reached the halfway point of their league campaign when the Sheffield Steelers, the defending Secunda Super League champions, made their first visit to the Odyssey. Colin Ward did get the puck in the net on this occasion, but the goal was ruled out for the net being off its moorings. The Giants supporters didn't have to wait long for the opening goal. Jason Ruff chipping the goalie. The Giants had other first period chances. Sean Berens had this effort saved by Ryan Back. While once again, Mike Bales was doing what he does best. Well, Jason Ruff will not have an easier finish in his career as he skidded in to make it 2-0 in the second period. And Paxton's big slap shot from the left point is one that Ryan Back would like to have back. Into period number 3, and Chris Lipsett was denied by Bales. The Giants increasing their lead with another simple finish, this time by the Rocket, Rod Stevens. Kevin Real got on the score sheet. A little deflection, seeping back. And Jason Ruff and Cal Benazzi got into a little argument in centre ice. Both were sent to the box. The Steelers had the power play, and Rick Brabant broke Bales' shutout bid with just seconds remaining in the game. "5-1 Giants," and, well, Dave didn't quite manage to smile. Bracknell were back in town again, and this time they took the lead. Sam Fatorik with the goal after 14 minutes of the first period. So work to be done for the Giants. This was the first of a weekend doubleheader. Kevin Real's slap shot from the left face-off dot made the score 1-1. And Curtis Bowen's shot was so quick it was in and out of the net. The referee gave the goal, 2-1 Giants. But the Bees kept buzzing around. Steve O'Rourke equalised. And it was all to play for in period number 3. Well, Kevin Real found the quick way to score the game-winning goal. But the Giants needed insurance and they got it short-handed. Kurt Bowen to Dave Matsos. The Giants led 4-2. Well, Jason Bowen asked Mark Turner what kind of aftershave he was wearing and then wanted a sniff. He took on 2 linesmen and the Bees forward. And the Bees made the final 5 minutes interesting when they scored through Eric Bertrand. But once again, the Giants held on. The final score, 4-3. It was their 5th consecutive win. But that streak would be put on the line just 24 hours later. It was back to London again for the 4th and final time in the season. Once again at the Docklands Arena, the Giants found themselves trailing after the first period. Trevor Ronick in front of the crease made the score 1-0. It was soon 2-0 in the second period when Dave Struch, coming back from a serious knee injury, managed to force the puck between Mike Bales' pads. But the Giants were quickly back into the game. Sean Berens' pass found Dave Matsos, and he made no mistake. And then perhaps came the fight of the season. Former Giant Doug Searle decided to take on Jason Ruff. In the end, that proved to be a huge mistake. One can only feel sorry for the former Belfast player. The fight seemed to galvanise the Giants and they levelled the match before the end of the second period. Jeff Hoad was denied the first time, but then banged the puck in off Dave Trukmenikoff. But this game would belong to the Knights. Early in the third period, Nate Leslie, son of Knights coach Bob, made the score 3-2. And just 37 seconds later, the Knights increased their lead when Ian McIntyre would beat Mike Beals. Just 5 minutes remaining in the game, Mike Barry secured the 5-2 win. Despite that defeat, the Giants still led the Super League, and they made their third appearance at the National Ice Centre against the Nottingham Panthers. But once again, the Panthers struck first and struck early. Cal Carlson's blast from the left point beating Mike Beals. But on this occasion, the Giants weren't going to be denied in Nottingham. On the power play, Rod Stevens equalised. And then with referee Mike Rowe blowing the Panthers up for holding once again, Colin Ward snuck in at the back post to make the score 2-1 at the end of the first period. Well, this would be a sweet night for the Giants and a sweet one for Colin Ward. Just into the second period, he scored his second of the night, the lovely backhanded finish. And he would complete his hat-trick moments later when he would take the pass from Rod Stevens to slot home his third of the night. Jason Ruff then made it 5. There's hard man Clayton Norris then got involved with Paxton Schulte. He'd actually dropped his stick and gloves at the blue line and chased Schulte into the corner. Well, Paxton got in that left hook, and much to the disgust of the Panthers bench and the Panthers fans, Mike Rowe, the referee, only handed out 2+2 for roughing. Paxton wouldn't be suspended. And it was an early shower for Clayton Norris. The Giants made it 6-1 in the third period. Kevin Real behind the goal. Jason Ruff applied the finish for his second goal of the game. And then we saw another side of Giants defenseman Taran Sandwith. He took exception to PC Druin's check into the boards. Other players got involved, and guess who? Yes, Clayton Norris was there, not surprisingly. But Taran stood up for himself, and although Clayton Norris got a couple of good blows in, it was nice to see Big Taran sticking up for his teammates. Six-1 up, and Panthers coach Paul Adey got thrown out of the game. And just to rub salt into the wounds, Todd Kelman made it 7-1. It was the Giants' sweetest victory of the season. Four days later, the two sides clashed at the Odyssey, and this would be Todd Kelman's night. Showing all the skills of a goal scorer, he opened the scoring after just 3 minutes. Then just 7 minutes later, he took the puck, deked the goalie, 2-0 Giants. And then as the clock ticked down to the end of the first period, Colin Ward fed killer Kelman, and it was 3-0. A straight hat-trick in the opening period. Well, the Panthers players weren't happy at the decision. They thought the hooter had gone. But referee Dave Kloutman awarded the goal. Clayton Norris, of course, takes exception to everything and everybody. He was in the penalty box early in period number 2, and the Giants capitalised on the power play. And from then on, the game should have been comfortable, but back came Nottingham. Cal Carlson made it 4-1 on the power play. Then big bad Barry Nygaard banked at the puck, and referee Kloutman gave the goal, although where the puck is lying in the crease, you could argue it hadn't crossed the line. One each on controversial decisions. Patrick Wallenberg then made it 4-3 before the end of the second period and was game on once again. And when Wallenberg banged away at the puck to score his second of the night when the Giants couldn't clear, the score was tied. From the face-off, Kurt Bowen took the puck and poked it past Danny Lorenz. The Giants had the 5-4 victory. But the night belonged to Todd Killer Kelman.
I was over the moon. I've never got a hat trick before at any level, so I was pretty excited, and the guys were pretty excited for me too. So.
Bracknell then made their final appearance of the season at the Odyssey, and they would be glad to see the back of the place. Enter stage right, Jason Ruff with the opening goal. And by the 3.5-minute mark, the Giants would be 2-0 up. Dave Matsos feeding Kurt Bowen the one-handed salute. At the other end of the rink, Mike Beals was providing heroics. Well, Todd Kelman can feed the puck to his forwards as well as score goals. This one led to Kurt Bowen getting his second of the night. Into period number 2, and the unselfish Paxton Schulte tried to feed Jason Ruff. But the puck went off the back of Blair Scott, and the Giants led by 4-0. Beals with the big stick. But he was eventually beaten with 2 power play goals for the Bees. The first one coming from Mark Turner. The second from Blair Scott, as he managed to get the puck into the right net. (4-2), but Colin Ward said enough is enough, and he secured the Giants' 8th consecutive victory at home with number 5. Consecutive win number 9 at the Odyssey Arena came against the Manchester Storm. The Giants took the early lead. Paxton Schulte's big slapper from the high slot beat Stevie Lyle. Manchester did equalise, Pierre Allard getting the goal. But that just sparked the Giants into action. Paxton and Rocco Ferrone discussed whether they'd have dinner after the game, with Ferrone taking the penalty. Berens, will I pass? Will I pass? Will I pass? No, I'll score the Giants' second of the night. The Giants back in front, 2-1. Well, then Dwight Parrish and Kurt Bowen had a little disagreement in the corner. But skidding 4-on-4, the Giants would capitalise. Paxton Schulte on the doorstep, 3-1 Giants. Into the second period again, and Kurt said hello to Dwight. And gave that toothy grin. Rob Wilson brought the Storm back into the match. It was just a 1-goal deficit. Paxton Schulte had never scored a hat-trick in the Secunda Super League. Well, Stevie Lyle obliged by just handing him the puck, and Packer made no mistake.
Hi, my name's Todd Kelman, and this is Hockey Rules.
Okay, this is hip checking.
Did a full flip, that's pretty good.
That's hip checking. This is an open ice check. Boarding is basically checking too hard, basically. Fighting usually starts with a mutual agreement of whether or not they want to go or not. And it starts off with, and then it's like, but when you get them down on the ice, then you kind of let up because you all got respect for each other. Maybe one last. I don't know much about fighting.
Hi, I'm Sean Berens. These are the top 5 goal-scoring celebrations you probably won't see. It'll go from easiest to hardest. First one is called the sleeper. It usually happens when you score an easy goal.
The guy's gonna shoot some pucks at me here just to see how good I am. I don't know, I think I'll stop most of them.
Number 2 on the top 5 goal-scoring celebration is the arm pump.
That's interference.
That was goalie interference.
Number 3 on the all-time top goal-scoring celebrations is the sword.
That's ice sticking. This is trash talking. Hey, Bills, you piece of asshole, fish with you ugly son of a mother's bacon. Yeah, that's trash talking.
Number 4 on the all-time top 5 best goal celebrations is shooting the duck.
This is definite abuse on official.
Who would be a referee?
And last but not least, the all-time best goal-scoring celebration, number 5, row your boat. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You'll probably see none of those used. on any of the goals here at SC Arena, but if you do, hopefully you enjoy them.
The Giants' stranglehold on the Super League tightened with a 5-4 victory over the Nottingham Panthers. The vital road win increased the lead at the top of the table to an incredible 13 points. The Giants took an early lead with Terran Sandwith and Shane Johnson keeping the puck in the zone. Johnson found Paxton Schulte and the big man showed soft hands to open the scoring. The Panthers levelled matters, however, with 2 minutes left in the period. On the power play, Greg Haddon came in unmarked at the back post to beat Mark Cavalin. But just 28 seconds later, the Giants were back in front. Kevin Real got the puck behind the net. He pushed it out in front to Jason Ruff, and pinching in from the blue line was Rob Stewart. Then, with just seconds left in the opening period, Joe Parrier and Jason Bowen went for the puck. A late hit by Bowen sent Parrier crashing into the boards. It was clear that the Panthers' captain was injured. As Parrier was helped on the ice, Jason Bowen was sent to the penalty box. He will be given a 5-minute penalty and a game misconduct. On the subsequent 5-minute power play at the start of the second period, the Panthers scored 2 goals. The first came from Cal Carlson. And then the Panthers would take the lead 3-2 in the game itself when Brent Pope arrived, trailing the play to fire past Mark Cavalin. Giants, however, wouldn't be behind for long. Mark Cavalin started the play, up the right wing boards to Sean Berens. And Berens would pick out Jason Ruff to make the score 3-3. Into the final period, and Mark Cavalin came up with a big save, and Berens would turn goal scorer. Working alongside line mates Jason Ruff and Kevin Real, the top line of the Giants was smoking. Berens then thought he'd got his second goal of the night. The referee Dave Cloutman disallowed this effort for kicking the puck into the net. It was end-to-end action at this stage. Nottingham weren't going to give up the home points lightly, and Greg Haddon got his second of the night to tie the game at 4. But cometh the moment, cometh the big man. On the power play, Jason Ruff, in a man-of-the-match performance, we get his second goal of the night. This time Rod Stevens picked him out from behind the net, and Ruffles made no mistake. The first home game of December saw the Sheffield Steelers skid into town, but they were quickly 1 goal behind. Paxton Schulte fed Kevin Real. 1-0 Giants. Into the second period, and Mike Bales was doing his usual best, even without a stick, to keep the Giants in the game. And remember that patented Sean Berens move behind the net and roofing the puck from an acute angle? Take 2. But Sheffield were soon on the board, Mark Laniel tipping the puck home. And then came the cry of "Hody!" that was heard at the back of the stand while Jeff obliged, and the goal-scoring machine Todd the Killer Kelman made the score 3-1 Giants. Well, Paxton Schulte makes a living in front of the net. The Gary Lineker of the Belfast Giants, if you like. He was on hand to make the score 4-1 on the power play. Well, Scott Allison pulled a goal back for the Sheffield Steelers early in the final period. But then from Sean Berens' pass, Kevin Real fired the one-timer home and the Giants were in full control. Well, Paul Cruz had been a naughty boy during the game, so it was up to Paxton to sort him out. The fight, however, would mean another game suspension for Schulte. Brad Laura closed the gap. The Giants weren't done. Jason Ruff stepped up to make the final score. The Giants 6, the Steelers 3. And as ever, Paxton took the plaudits from the crowd. The Giants then paid their second visit of the season to the Beehive, where they would skate away with an impressive 3-1 victory. However, they went behind in the first period, the goal scorer Dan Saman. But 4:42 into the second period and the Giants would equalise. Kevin Real set up Jason Ruff, his shot was saved. The loose puck was tapped home by Chad Allen. The eventual game-winning goal came just a minute 32 into the final period, and it came short-handed, with Sean Berens in the penalty box. Rod Stevens intercepted the puck and fired home. The victory was then rounded off by former Bracknell player Todd Kelman. He was trailing the play, took the pass from Sean Berens and fired home past Brian Greer. The Giants' last away game before Christmas was in Manchester, and Rob Stewart opened the scoring just before the end of the first period. The Storm equalised in the second period with a fine individual effort from Trevor Gallant. The Giants' defence parted like the Red Sea, and Gallant finished past Mark Haviland. With just 5 minutes remaining in the game, Rob Wilson thought he'd secured a famous victory for bottom-placed Storm. They reacted as though they'd won the league. But never count the Giants out. Jason Ruff took the Storm zone, and quick as a flash, Kevin Real had flashed home the equaliser. The final score at the MEN Arena, the Giants 2, the Manchester Storm 2. The Giants had back-to-back home games before they were released on their Christmas holidays. The first visitors were the London Knights. Good work from Terrance Sandwith. He got the puck to Colin Ward, and Wardy put the puck in the back of the net. The Knights were quickly on level terms. Nate Leslie getting the finishing touch to score past Mike Bales. But 30 seconds later, the Giants were back in front. Jeff Hode's pass was redirected in front of the crease by Rod Stevens. Mike Bales was now leading the goaltending stats of the Super League. This would be another great performance by the Belfast Giants goalie. The Giants looked to have made the game safe with two quick strikes in the second period. First, Jason Ruff forced the puck in. And then Dave Matsos with the big, heavy slapper from the mid-slot. Then Nate Leslie decided to pick a fight with the normally quiet and docile Chad Allen. Well, Chad had him down once. Leslie got up for more. So Chad gave him more. You don't mess with the quiet one. Well, Leslie did get out of the penalty box to pull the Knights back into the game. And then Mike Barry would leave a few uncomfortable minutes at the end of the match for the Giants as he slipped in the Knights' third goal. However, the clock ran down. And another 2 points were secured by the Giants. This was the home team's 11th consecutive victory at the Odyssey. The Belfast Giants made it a very happy Christmas as they knocked the stuffing out of the second place Ayr Scottish Eagles, skidding to a 4-2 win. Jason Ruff had taken an early penalty for slashing, but then stepped back onto the ice to latch on to Jeff Hode's pass and go through to beat Ayr goalie Joaquin Gage one-on-one. So the Giants a goal to the good at the first period interval, and they piled the pressure on as the second period began. Paxton Schulte denied by Gage, but then the loose puck was batted around the crease. Eventually Kurt Bowen got the last touch. Goal number 3 arrived soon after. Colin Ward picked up the puck at the top of the left circle and fired it past Gage. The Eagles did get on the scoreboard shortly after the start of the final period. An uncharacteristic mistake behind his own goal by Rob Stewart. The puck picked off and Sean Barham found the finish. The Giants weren't to be denied their pre-Christmas bonus. Jeff Hode making the score 4-1. As you would expect, Ayr battled to the very last and pulled a goal back on the power play through captain Alan Schuler. The Giants and their fans did their bit to help make Christmas fun for the children in hospital over the festive period by covering the ice with cuddly toys that were distributed after the game. One of the most memorable away trips of the season was the visit to the Centre Marina on December the 30th, although Ian Herbers gave the Ayr Scottish Eagles a 1-0 first period lead. It looked as though the Eagles were going to get their first victory against the Giants of the season. Mike Jickling made it 2-0. But the Giants were back in the game before the end of the period number 2. Kevin Real's slap shot from the left face-off dot had put the Giants back in with a chance. And they would capitalise with an incredible third period. First, the Rocket Rod Stevens would score the equaliser, much to the delight of the near 700 travelling Belfast Giants fans. The atmosphere within the Centre Marina was at fever pitch. And the Giants weren't going to disappoint their travelling army. Well, Todd Kelman scored the go-ahead goal to make the score 3-2. The banner was out and the drums were beating for the Giants. But Ayr weren't going to lie down and die. Michael Harding's big shot from the left point made the score 3-3. It was an enthralling game in a terrific atmosphere, and eventually the Giants would get that little bit of luck they needed to secure the 2 points. With less than 2 minutes remaining, Jeff Hode would get the puck, and against his old team would fire it across, and the unlucky Herbers would see it go off his skate and past Joaquin Gage. The netminder could just kneel on the ice in disbelief as the Giants celebrated their 4-3 lead. And the victory was made safe. With Gage pulled for an extra attacker, Ayr couldn't get the puck into the Giants' zone. It fell kindly for the Rocket Rod Stevens. He scored his second goal of the night.
My full name is Alexandra Catherine Elizabeth von Haselberg, which is unfortunate because my friends back home nickname me Ace. Come from Godalming in Surrey. Born in Guildford, so lived in Godalming all of about 20, 21 years. Coming in the morning, I suppose primary concerns, apart from sort of bits and bobs after is fill the water bottles, get the juice ready, little things that, like quirky things that players have, like their medical requirements, whatever. Players are in by about 9:30. Some are in slightly earlier, so if anybody comes in early, any treatment that needs to be done with them. Morning, Chelsea. So.
I need ibuprofen, but I guess you rubbed my shoulder today before practice.
Okay. Ibuprofen in your stall.
Yeah.
Keep going on the table, just go chat when you're ready.
Yep.
Okay. And other than that, it really is quite pretty much a waiting game. Then they get on the ice at 10:30, and now kind of get into the habit of just watching practice and doing nothing other than being out there. Because a couple of days ago, somebody got cut above the eye, and it's just sod's law. If I go away and do something, somebody's going to get like hit with the puck, or someone's going to like go down on the ice or whatever. So I'm now just going to sit and watch practice. You just have to sit in front of me, don't you? Only because it's you, honestly. Well, no, I'm only saying that because there's a microphone on, but other than that, you know it wouldn't be true. Can't stand you.
Can you try on my mouth guard too, Chris?
Pardon?
I'll try this on. See if it feels funny.
Anyway, it's 11 o'clock, and players have been on the ice since about 10:30, so they should be off in the next couple of minutes, next 15 minutes. Pre-game skates, very short. Then I can kind of clear away from the bench, get rid of the bottles, get ready for the afternoon. Okay, this is, says, stick on the door, basically a treatment sign-in sheet for the players. They can just come along. And it's pretty self-explanatory, actually. Before you even bother moaning at any of them, I'll just put in one person who will routinely be in at 5 o'clock. So players just come along and put their name on the form, sign up for treatment. Just basically what it avoids is the players coming along and somebody being in the room and like, oh, when do I go? And like, we'll come back in 5 minutes, and somebody else will come along, and when can I go? And you'll go 10 minutes, and they go, oh, before this happened, you're just getting chirped. So basically, put a sign on the door, come along, you sign your name, and therefore, guess what? My name wasn't on this. Exactly, you can't go in if your name's not down. Sounds like a London bouncer. Anyway, calves too, yeah? Just hold on.
Not as much on the calves, actually. If you're not too bad, yeah, just a little warm up and we'll be fine.
Some players have particular pre-game routines, like Jeff Hoad. I will see him pretty much routinely prior to a game. I don't know so much about you, Lou. Is this becoming a routine or more of a necessity?
I don't know.
It can be routine or necessity. It just depends how the players feel. If they want to help with their warm-up, sometimes like a muscle rub will get the circulation going, or help kind of promote circulation, basically generate heat, get the blood flow going a lot more, and loosen the muscles off too. So anything they do on the ice or do warming up or stretching up is helped by this. So basically what this is just basically rubbing his hamstring without getting too technical. This particular weekend, we've got to clear up, so it's all done and dusted. We probably won't get out of here till maybe 11:30, midnight, and it's only 10:30 now. So we have to clear out all the rooms that we occupy. We do normally, except we have to clear out a couple of other rooms and put all our equipment into our dressing room. So it's going to be busy night, packing everything away, making sure we take as much of the stuff that we need with us as we set up home in the practice rink for the next 3 weeks. We've got to make sure we cater for those days now in the practice rink, and also for the days where we're going to be on the road, because we have tomorrow, Sheffield Thursday, and Bracknell Saturday, and that is just, that's only going to take us to sort of the middle of January, and I think we still have after that another 2 or 3 road games. So it's going to be a busy weekend, and the week's going to be busy, but they're road trips and they're fun, and having Bracknell draw and I think Ayr lost. That's good. That's good on the point system because the Giants won. Woohoo! So roll on the Monteith Bowl, as they say.
The Giants' first game of 2002 came against the Sheffield Steelers at the Odyssey Arena. Remember, earlier in the season at the House of Steel, the Giants had gone down to an embarrassing 8-1 defeat. Well, in this game, it was payback time. With just over 8 minutes gone in the game, Brent Bobick tripped Paxton Schulte. He got 2 minutes in the sin bin, and the Giants took full advantage. Paxton Schulte took the puck from Chad Allen and then got the return pass to open the scoring. 27 seconds later, it was 2-0 Giants. Kurt Bowen fed Dave Matsos, and he provided the neat finish. And before the end of the first period, Matty had got his second goal of the night. Well, Sheffield tried to get on the scoreboard, but Mark Cavalin was in good form for the Giants. And they had a chance to score on the power play when Jeff Hode went to the penalty box 2 minutes for hooking. But it was the Giants that took advantage. Short-handed, Rod Stevens nicked the puck, went up the ice and easily beat Owen McInerney. Well, after his 2 minutes of rest, Hody came out of the penalty box immediately. He scored number 5. Then Jason Bowen went up the left wing boards, and his pass was easily finished by the Rocket for his second goal of the period. 6-0 and the Giants were coasting, although Sheffield did have some good scoring opportunities, but Mark Cavalin was in good form, stopping Scott Allison with that effort. Sean Berens was then allowed to skate in on challenge to score number 7 for the Giants early in the third period. Number 8 wasn't too long in coming after that. Ryan Bach made a mess of playing the puck behind the net. It was stolen by Paxton Schulte, who applied the finish. Well, what Mark Cavalin wanted was his first shutout in the Super League, but it wasn't to be. Chris Lipsett's late goal, just a consolation for the Steelers. The Giants had exacted full revenge for that 8-1 reverse in Sheffield earlier in the season with a mirror scoreline. Well, Mark Cavalin was unlucky to get a shutout against Sheffield, but Mike Beales made no mistake just a few days later against London. Colin Ward opened the scoring, slapping the puck from the top of the right circle past Dave Trotmenikoff. Mike Beales, however, would earn this shutout. He had to make 36 saves. As the teams came out for the second period, the Giants only had that slender 1-goal advantage. But they made it 2 when Chad Allen's effort from the blue line was redirected in front by Super Sean Berens. While at the other end, Mike just did what comes naturally. This perhaps his best save of the night, a one-on-one breakout by Kim Alrus, stoned by Mike's big glove. And Mike Barry had to leave the ice for treatment after slipping into the boards with a little helping hand from Kurt Bowen. Still 2-0 in game on, and the Knights on the power play, but then Rob Donovan turned the puck over to Jeff Hode, and he had made no mistake. The game was now safe. All that remained was for Mike Bales to get the shutout. And the Giants' number 1 didn't disappoint. The Giants made their 4th and final visit to the Central Arena to take on Ayr. And like the 3 previous occasions, they got off to a good start. Kevin Real with the opening goal after just 4 minutes and 34 seconds. It was 2-0 soon after. The original shot from Dave Matsos was saved by Joaquin Gage, but trailing the play, Kurt Bowen made it 2-0 at the end of the first period. Into the second, and Jason Bowen had taken exception to a high stick thrown at Colin Ward by Cam Bristow. The two exchanged some blows before both were eventually thrown out of the game. It didn't deter the Giants, however. Turan Samwith found Kevin Real, and he banked home his own rebound to make the score 3-0. The Eagles eventually got on the scoreboard in the third period when Ed Courtney netted. But that would just be a blip for the Giants, as they made it 4 straight wins at the Central Arena. This fine solo effort came from Jason Ruff. The banner and the drummer were both back at the Central Arena. Unfortunately, this time, the drummer lost the drum. Well, just 55 seconds remained when Kevin Real added his name to the list of hat-trick heroes this season. The final score, 5-1 Giants. And thankfully for all concerned, the drummer had found his drum and wasn't letting go for dear life. The Giants were now on the verge of winning the Super League title. They went to Sheffield knowing that 2 wins would do the trick, but they went behind early to a Jason Mansoff goal on the power play. But just after the 13-minute mark, Jason Bowen came into the slot to equalise. There was no further scoring in period number 2, but the Giants had owned period number 3 all season long, and in this game they would do exactly the same. Jeff Holt found Colin Ward, and Colin Ward made no mistake. It would be 3-1 soon afterwards, and what a goal this was. Rod Stevens took the pass from Todd Kelman. Past 1, past 2, past 3. It was 3-1 Giants. The victory would be rounded off by Super Sean Berens as he coasted into the slot. And the 4-1 victory at the House of Steel meant that the Giants journeyed south to Bracknell, knowing they needed just a point to clinch the Super League title. The day of destiny dawned as the players boarded the coach for the short journey from the hotel to the Beehive. They looked in good form. Certainly the Joker, Todd Kelman, was happy to be getting on the coach. The Bees, of course, won the Super League title 2 seasons ago. The man in charge at the time was coach Dave Whistle, looking a little bit younger. The Beehive can best be described as quaint. And before the game, managing director Bob Zeller looked more nervous than the players.
I've just been in the locker room. It's very quiet. It's very gently confident, but nobody's getting the champagne out yet.
We heard it on they heard the report in the news last night and thought, well, we could be there. And we got on the phone, booked the tickets, booked everything and just went this morning. It's just fantastic. It's great to be here. Right decision.
I think it'll be a close game like it was the last time here, but hopefully the Giants will get the point they need to win the title tonight.
So the die-hard Giants fans had made it to the Beehive in Bracknell. Mark Cavalin looked relaxed, but then again Mike Bales would start between the pipes.
We'll enjoy it. Definitely.
Cheers. Cheers, maybe. A few, probably, yeah. But loads of cheers.
The build-up was now complete. The 6 o'clock face-off was upon the team as they took to the ice. Coach Whistle had his game face on, as did Blatch. The Giants hadn't been beaten by the home side, the Bees, at the Beehive this season. The hope was it wouldn't begin in this game. But early on, the omens weren't good as Bracknell took an early lead. Daniel Gounod went through, and although Mike Bales foiled him, he managed a reverse pass to Sam Fatorik, who scored from the slot. The Giants tried everything to beat Bees goalie Brian Greer during the first period, but couldn't, and they faced a 1-goal deficit as the second period got underway. But they were soon 2-0 behind. Rod Stewart's attempted clearance took a deflection, bounced straight up to Blair Scott, and he made no mistake. 2-0 Bees, the Giants needed the comeback. Well, Paxton Schulte wasn't going to be messed around of in front of the net. A small scrum developed, and Blair Scott took exception to the call from referee Simon Kirkham. He made his feelings known when Kirkham threw him out of the game. He took his frustration out on the plexiglass. It was agonising to watch as the Giants looked for that opening goal. Once again, Greer denied them, while at the other end, Mike Bales kept the side just 2 goals behind. Into the third now, Chad Allen through. Could he score? No, Greer denied him. The Bees goalie looking as though he had skates in his back. But then a moment of magic. Colin Ward undressed Mike McBain, took the puck to his backhand and opened the scoring. Hope was restored. So with the clock ticking down, could the Giants finally get that goal that would secure the point? Not on this occasion. Coach Whistle still had that game face on, as did Blatch. And then, with just 3 minutes left on the clock, Rob Stewart found Jason Ruff. His big slap shot was saved by Brian Greer, but as he fell to the ice, Chad Allen was the hero as he forced the puck in. Whistle and the players knew what that goal meant. .3:26 left in the period, but still the Giants had work to do. Jason Bowen took a penalty. The tension grew. The last couple of minutes seemed like a couple of hours, but Mike Bales and the penalty killers saw off the penalty. The clock ticked down, the hooter went, and the Belfast Giants were the Seconda Super League champions. The game face was gone to be replaced by a big smile. Coach Whistle, in just the second season of the franchise, had led his players to the championship. Chad Allen was the unlikely hero with the goal that will go down as clinching the title. But for the fans of the Belfast Giants, there were 17 heroes in all. They posed for the photograph that everybody wanted. Number 1, the Belfast Giants. For Coach Whistle and 6 of the Belfast Giants, this was the second time that they'd won the Seconda Super League Championship at the Beehive.
Well, you know, it was pretty dreadful for the first 45, 50 minutes of that game. with 10 minutes to go, I came down here to the locker room thinking, well, we could do it in Manchester. And then we got the goal, and that was fantastic. So, yeah, it feels great. Absolutely great.
I just hoping to get some. I said go fast and win, baby. Walk slow. More goals in there.
Awesome. I mean, it's always that great feeling whether you win at anything in this world, and it's just that much more exciting that we've won it this early right now. We have a lot left to play for, but I mean, we just want to enjoy tonight. We were able to get that point that we needed, and you know, hopefully we have a good rest of the last part of the year.
Oh, the fans were great. I'm glad that some of them were here to follow us and see us win it, and you know, we're going to bring the trophy back and let everybody else celebrate with it.
They're kind of a calm bunch back there. They don't celebrate all that much.
Just under 1,000 Belfast Giants supporters turned up to welcome the side home at Belfast City Airport less than 24 hours later.
It's unbelievable reception here. We didn't expect this many people to be down here. Just feel like a bunch of heroes coming home. It's a good feeling. I mean, we thought we were a good team at the beginning of the year, and we thought we had a chance, but we didn't think we'd do this well, and we definitely didn't expect our fans to get into it like this. This is just great.
The Giants had powered to the Super League title by going on a league record-breaking 16-game unbeaten streak dating back to the 7-1 win in Nottingham. Well, all good things come to an end, and it did in Manchester. Jason Bowen, however, did open the scoring for the Giants. After a week of celebrations, the Giants players admitted they weren't ready to play this game. And it showed as the Storm scored 3 goals in period number 3. Joseph Corarelli got the equaliser. Then Russ Romaniuk put the Storm ahead. And Trevor Gallant rounded off the victory by scoring the empty net goal. The Giants' impressive performances in the Super League meant they topped the Challenge Cup standings for the 2nd season in a row. It meant a semi-final over 2 legs against the Bracknell Bees. The first leg was at the Beehive, and the Giants were soon on top. Jason Ruff being released by Sean Berens, and he opened the scoring, beating Brian Greer. Within 4 minutes of the start of the game, the Giants were 2 goals up. This time Shane Johnson found Dave Matsos. He deked Greer before beating him top shelf. The Bees couldn't afford to return to the Odyssey facing a deficit, and on the power play, Mike McBean gave them hope with a goal. 2-1 Giants at the end of the first period. That very quickly became 3-1 just a minute 30 into the second period, when Kurt Bowen streaked down the left wing and fired past Greer. Into the third, and the Giants weren't going to let up. Dave Matsos with the one-timer that beat Greer to make the score 4-1. It was the second goal of the game for Matsos. And just to round off, an excellent first leg performance by the Giants. A turnover in their own zone gave the puck to Rocket Rod Stevens. He deked the goalie 3 or 4 times before riffing the puck. 5-1 Giants, the final score, a comfortable lead to take into the second leg at the Odyssey.
Good morning, everyone. I did a little speech earlier on until everybody else has suddenly arrived here, which is great. I believe in total we have 23, is that right? Mascots in total. Well, this morning's very special. What we have is we have the 23 mascots that escorted us through each one of the games this season. And the idea was brought by several of the families, suggested that we bring all the mascots and get a photo taken with the Giants.
So a big moment for the mascots to get their photo taken with their heroes. Another example of the hard work the players have done with the kids in the community.
Okay, my name's Peter Collins. My job with the Belfast Giants is to let boys and girls like you know we're here and we're about and we play games. And also part of my job is to bring players out to let you meet them so you can say hello, have a chat with them and find out what it's like to be a professional ice hockey player in Northern Ireland. We all identified the fact that the Giants have become very quickly heroes, role models to a lot of the kids in Northern Ireland. And we wanted to get across the right message because our players are very good with kids. That's the way they've been brought up in North America. They're very good with the media. They're very good at going out and giving talks and speeches, and they're very good just being themselves.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm sure everybody's happy to be out of class, are you? Yeah? From when you're at a young age and you're training your body to be the top it can be. So that starts with eating healthy, eating the right foods, staying away from drinking, staying away from all the little things that people are going to try to coax you into doing. You got to learn how to say no to other people when you're coming into the age where they're going to say, here, do you want to try a cigarette? You say, no thanks. And you know what? People will respect you for that, for saying no to those kinds of things.
How long do you train a day?
Well, we train for about 2 hours in the morning, and then we go to the gym in the afternoon, work out, we run, ride the bike, lift weights, all those kinds of things.
You can't prize them away. You know, they love it. They love getting across to them. As you saw, Kurt Bourne the other day is very good with kids. And most of the fellas are good with kids. They all appreciate that when they were that age, players who they looked up to came and did similar things with them, and that it's partly giving back to the community. And the community they have to be giving back to at the moment is in Northern Ireland.
The school visit, the highlight of the week for both the kids in the classroom and the big kids who play for the Giants.
Yeah, I'm now about to attempt to go on the ice here and do a little practice session with the youngsters. They've come out here and they got their photo taken. They've seen the Giants, they've met the Giants, and I think it's now time for them to have a little session on the Odyssey. So I think it's a little bit of a special treat for them, and I think they'll enjoy it. I got my stick. Now I gotta go find those youngsters. The situation we have at the moment with the Giants, I mean, there's absolutely an enormous step up. I mean, the level of play we're talking with the Giants is really a huge leap for a youngster. Jeff Holt, Mark Cavlin, and Shane Johnson, even though they have a game tonight, actually stayed behind and like to work with the kids, and that's the beauty of it, is they love working with the kids and coaching, so it was absolutely brilliant.
We were in the first season involved with the junior development at Dundonald. There were several problems there. We now think they've been resolved, and we want to be very much involved in helping the kids come through. I mean, like you saw today on the ice, the sheer look of joy on their faces, it makes it all worthwhile for you. And if we can get a little bit of that going throughout next season, hopefully with the players down at Dundonald. Like I say, there were several issues that had to be addressed. Hopefully that's all been sorted, and the Giants will be, the Dundonald taking the kids, a few nights a week next season. And as we keep saying, we'd love, from a PR perspective, I'd love to have a Northern Ireland kid playing for the Giants. It'd make my job easier. But realistically, you've got to look at 5, maybe 10 years down the line before we get kids coming through the system that can play at this level of hockey. The sooner we start, the quicker that's going to happen. So hopefully next season it'll really get off the ground.
The Giants then paid their final trip of the season to the House of Steel to take on the hometown Sheffield Steelers. and they took an early 1-goal lead. The top line of Kevin Rial and Jason Ruff setting up Super Sean Berens to open the scoring. It was a fast start by the Giants. The second line then took over, Rob Stevens and Colin Ward getting the assists on Jeff Hode's goal. Paul Cruz and Jason Ruff then got into a disagreement in the corner, and the Sheffield player took an extra 2 minutes in the penalty box for charging. The Giants would capitalise on the power play, with Paxton Schulte doing what he does best. "3-0 Giants, and everything was going according to plan. But then came the big Sheffield comeback. They opened their account with Brent Bobic scoring. And then before the end of the opening period, they closed the gap to just a goal. Public enemy number 1, Paul Cruz, getting the goal. Into period number 2 now, and Paul Cruz got his second goal on the Sheffield power play to level the score at 3 goals each. And when Chris Brandt turned and fired the puck past Mike Bales, Sheffield had the lead for the first time in the game. Well, with Jason Mansoff in the penalty box, it was the Giants' turn to up the tempo. And they duly equalised when Rob Stewart's blast from the left point beat Ryan back in the Sheffield goal. So it was all to play for in the final period, and the Giants retook the lead again 5-4 when Kurt Bowen scored just a minute 35 into the period. But the 10-goal thriller would be completed by a goal from Chris Lipset, and the points were shared. 5-5 the final score. It was end-to-end hockey, an exciting game for the Sheffield fans. The Giants then clashed with the Bracknell Bees in the second leg of the Challenge Cup semi-final, carrying over that 5-1 lead from the first leg at the Beehive, and with the incentive that the final would be at the Odyssey Arena. And they quickly took the lead in the first period, with Kurt Bowen rounding Brian Greer to open the scoring on the night. Well, the Giants had chances to increase their lead, this one falling to defenseman Taran Sandwith. Then a turnover in the B zone led to Mark Cadot racing almost the full length of the ice to go in one-on-one with Mark Cavlin and to beat him and make the score 1-1. Referee Nigel Boniface then got in on the action. First this horrible tripping call on Rob Stewart, and then he handed the Bees a 5-on-3 power play, calling Todd Kelman 2 minutes for boarding, and then added on a 10-minute penalty when Todd offered his opinion. Well, the Bees took full advantage when Blake Knox scored in the power play, and they led 2-1 on the night. Into the second period now. Colin Ward misfired on this chance, but don't give Wardy a second opportunity because he'll always make you pay. 2-2. Then just seconds later the Giants were back in front again. Good pressure in the B zone and Sean Berens with time and space, and Super Sean doesn't miss chances like that. Mark Cavlin then had to leave the game with a knee injury, and he was replaced between the pipes by Mike Bales. But his first job was to pick the puck out of the back of the net on the power play. Blake Knox scored his second of the night. But then up stepped Super Sean Berens once more. This time he got a lucky deflection, but the Giants were back in the lead 4-3. But then into the final period, and Mike Bales was beaten to the puck by Mark Cadot, who notched his second of the night. And the Bees would win the game when Blake Knox completed his hat-trick. So the Giants lost the battle 5-4 on the night, but they'd won the war 9-6 on aggregate over the two matches. Giants coach Dave Whistle was once an assistant with the Great Britain national squad, so he was keen to help with their preparations for the World Championships as part of the national programme that will hopefully end with qualification for the 2006 Olympic Games in Turin. For months, Giants supporters had wanted a goal from Turan Sandwith, and finally, here it was. And the big defenceman celebrated in style. A thing of beauty, as they say, is a joy to behold, and Turan was certainly going to enjoy the moment.
Oh, it was a relief. It was nice to do it in front of fans here because I think they wanted it more than I did. So everybody's been coming up to me and asking me when it's going to happen. So it's nice to do it here in front of everybody. And I mean, for me, it's not my job. I mean, it's nice to score, but that's not what I'm here for. So it's just kind of a nice extra bonus. So.
Then came the night Belfast Giants fans had been waiting for. They would be presented with the Monteith Bowl after the game against last season's champions, the Sheffield Steelers. Well, there was a game of hockey to be played first, and Sheffield capitalised on a bad Giants line change. Scott Allison picking the puck up and scoring the opening goal. Well, the Giants didn't want Sheffield to spoil their fun, and they had chances to equalise. First, Rod Stevens missed. And then Rick Burbant took exception to Jeff Hode following up. Well, before the end of the first period, the Giants would equalise. Mark Dutiem tripped Chad Allen. And on the resulting power play, Chad's shot would be deflected in by Paxton Schulte. Well, the result was 1-1, but that didn't really matter because Giants fans had come out to see Jeff Hode hoist the Monteith Bowl. He accepted it from Bob Zeller and Albert Masland. The first trophy the Belfast Giants had won in the 2-year history of the franchise. And as captain, Hody led the traditional skate around the ice. Every player would get the chance to hoist the trophy in front of the adoring fans. Northern Ireland had found itself 17 new sporting heroes. And the celebrations would continue both on the ice and afterwards in the locker room.
Well, you know what? It feels pretty good. Pretty darn good.
It feels fairly heavy.
It's fairly heavy.
Chilly.
It's my first championship in my career, so definitely amazing. So nice little trophy, huh? It's beautiful.
The Ahern Trophy was a new competition played during the Olympic break. It matched the 7 Super League teams with 7 of the best from Germany's DEL in a Ryder Cup style format. Each side would play 2 games. The Giants' first would be against Rivier Lowen-Oberhausen. But with Mark Cavalin injured and a family illness that meant Mike Beals had to return home to Canada, Giants coach Dave Whistle had a goaltending problem. Air coach Paul Heavey stepped in to save the day. Eagle Colin Ryder would be between the pipes for the 2 games. The German side took the early lead. The goal was made in Slovakia by Ladislav Karabin, and Finland's Mika Arvaja scored the opening goal. But the Giants weren't behind for long. Kevin Real beat their goalie to the puck. Jason Bowen added the nice backhand finish. Before the 10-minute mark, however, the Germans were back in front. Jurgis Bacchus' blast from the right point beat Ryder. But back came the Giants again. Kurt Bowen skated into the slot and fired home. 2-2 at the end of the first period. Well, there were no goals in period number 2, and the Germans took the lead again with just 10 minutes left in the game. This time Christian Coleman applied the finish. The Giants, however, weren't to be denied at least overtime. Rod Stewart picked the puck up, fired it home in the power play, and when the game reached the 60-minute mark, the score was tied at 3 goals each. But the Giants faithful hadn't seen an overtime game since the pre-season BT Together Belfast Ice Cup. And the extra 5-minute period this time around would only last 42 seconds. There was a lucky goal for the Germans to win by Ladislav Karabin getting the puck in front of the net. It trickled in off the pads of the unfortunate Colin Ryder. "24 hours later, it was the Hanover Scorpions' turn to skate into the Odyssey. With both sides playing for the pride of their league, it was a chance for the Giants to put 2 points on the scoreboard for the Super League. And for the first time, they were decked out in their new black strip. Yet again, however, it was the German side that made the fast start. Just 2 minutes and 14 seconds on the clock when Matthias Luth gave Hanover the lead. But the Giants came back with a double quick strike in the second period. First, Dave Matsos applied a nice finish. Before the 3-minute mark of the period, the Giants had taken the lead. Kevin Real went to the net, Jason Bowen supplied the pass, and Kevin the neat finish. As the third period began, it was a case of role reversal, with the Germans getting 2 quick goals. The first came from Wallace Schreiber. And the second from Igor Bashkatov, as Hanover took a 3-2 lead. But once again, this game was heading to overtime. Rob Stewart sent Super Sean Berens away, and Sean made no mistake one-on-one with the goalie. So for the second time in 24 hours, the Odyssey crowd had to stay around for an extra 5 minutes. But early in the overtime period, Taran Sandwith took 2 minutes in the penalty box for interference. He would soon be joined in the penalty box by the Scorpions' Mark Pedersen, who was given a 10-minute misconduct penalty. The Giants would then finish the game on the power play, and they made no mistake. Rod Stevens to Jeff Hode, and at the second attempt, the captain led by example by scoring the sudden death overtime winner.
Well, for myself and the rest of the players, I think it's kind of kick-started us again. It's got us thinking out there, making better decisions, and all those things added up. We need those things to go into the playoffs. We need them in the Challenge Cup final. I'm super happy that we played those games. I thought we did very well. We lost in overtime and won in overtime. And I think it's just shown that we can close the gap a little bit on them. I know they're a higher level of play than we are on a regular basis, but our players can step it up, and I thought we did an excellent job.
On the penultimate weekend of the Super League season, the Ayr Scottish Eagles made their fourth and final trip back to the Odyssey, where they hadn't won this season. But they took an early lead. Mike Beales making the initial save and Dodie Wood, but the loose puck broke to defenseman Johan Silverplatz, who opened the scoring. But the Giants soon levelled matters. Big Jason Bowen turned and fired home from the top of the right circle. In the second period, on the power play, the Eagles took the lead. Alan Schuller's shot redirected in by Sean Barham. And early in the third period, Great Britain international Jonathan Weaver slapped this shot past Mike Beales. And the Eagles looked as though they were on their way to a comfortable victory. But the Never Say Giants came right back. On the power play, Paxton Schulte made it 3-2 with just over 3 minutes to go. And then came the grandstand finish. But first, Todd Kelman was given a penalty, and much to his disgust, he was then thrown out of the game. The Giants killed the penalty, and then Paxton Schulte found Sean Berens, and his pass found Jeff Hoad, who skidded off the bench when the Giants had pulled Mike Beales for the extra attacker. With just 11 seconds to go, the Giants had forced a 3-3 tie. The Giants did get back to winning ways 24 hours later. Making their final visit of the season to the Beehive, Kevin Rial opened the scoring against his old team. It was all Giants in the first period, Paxton Schulte getting his first of the evening. Then Sean Berens showing the tougher side to his nature. The Giants made it 3-0 soon after, this time Schulte turning provider. Colin Ward allowed too much time and space in front of the crease. He made it 3-0. And there was still time for a fourth before the end of the first period. Paxton Schulte with the interception. And the nice finish. When Blake Knox scored. And into the third, on the power play, Dan Saman closed the gap to just 2 goals. But Paxton hadn't finished. This goal would give him his second hat-trick of the season. Well, it was a well-deserved Man of the Match award for Paxton Schulte. 3 goals against his old team. And he would get the usual congratulations from his teammates. The Giants' final Seconder Super League game of the season was against the Nottingham Panthers. A special occasion, a special guest. Canada's gold medal winner from the Salt Lake City Winter Olympics, Geraldine Heaney. Born in Lurgan, she moved to Canada when she was just a baby, but now she was back to take the accolade from the home crowd. Sporting the gold medal, she did the ceremonial puck drop. onto the game, and it was the Panthers that took an early lead. Jason Bowen lost his stick but put in the big hit anyway, but the puck broke loose for Claude Savoie to open the scoring. From then on, however, it was all Giants. Rob Stewart came in on the back post to equalise. And then Super Sean Berens was found by Chad Allen, and he made no mistake beating Danny Lorenz. Paxton Schulte, of course, was doing what he does best. That's winding up the opposition. Amongst others, Clayton Norris was a little slow in the uptake. The Giants ended the opening period the stronger and took a 3-1 lead. Kevin Real started the move. He found Rob Stewart on the left wing. Then to Jason Ruff, back to Kevin Real, and he fired home his 22nd goal of the season. Into the second, and Rod Stevens made no mistake as he beat Lorenz to make it 4-1. And that was enough for the Panthers starting goaltender. He was replaced by Pasi Hakkinen. The Panthers were determined to make a game of it in the third period and pulled back 2 goals. The first coming from Lee Jinman. Although Clayton was finding his favourite seat in the building. The Panthers then struck again short-handed. This time Greg Haddon was the goal scorer. But that's as close as the Panthers were going to get. From the next face-off just 7 seconds later on the power play, Paxton Schulte found Super Sean Berens, and he made no mistake to make the score 5-3. And the Giants finished their league campaign off in style. Kurt Bowen getting the final touch to this move to leave the final score, the Giants 6, the Panthers 3. The Giants eventually winning the Super League by a massive 21 points. And finishing their home season on a streak of 17 unbeaten games at Fortress Odyssey. The Ayr Scottish Eagles, led by netminder Joaquin Gage, returned to the Odyssey for the Challenge Cup final. So far this season, they'd played the Giants 8 times, losing 7 and tying 1 game. For the Giants, they were forced to play the game just 19 hours after beating the Panthers the previous evening. From early on, it didn't look as though it was going to be the Giants' day. Mike Beales quite simply doesn't make mistakes like that. Rhett Gordon capitalised. And shortly after, it was 2-0. This time, Todd Kelman gave the puck away at neutral ice. His pass intercepted by Johan Silverplatz, who set Ed Courtney away, and he beat Beale's top shelf. The Giants tried to battle back in the second period, but it was to no avail. This time Gordon turned provider for Jonathan Weaver to make it 3-0. And man of the match, Gordon then got his second goal on the power play. Given too much time and space, he easily beat Beales. Into the final period now, and it was all Ayr. and they sealed their victory with their 5th goal of the evening. This time Bales didn't make the initial save, but the puck lay there in the crease for Bodie Wood to tap home. Ayr had won their first trophy since their Grand Slam season 4 years ago. For the Giants, there was nothing but bitter disappointment. The Challenge Cup trophy was presented to Ayr captain Alan Schuller by Olympic gold medalist Geraldine Heaney.
Well, I think my views all boiled down to being Ayr just outplayed us for 60 minutes. There was no way around it, and we shouldn't be able to make any excuses because they definitely deserved the win. They played extremely well from start to finish. They kept it simple. They played a very well team-oriented game, and you know, they stuck to their game plan, done very well. So take nothing away from our team, but I think you should give all the credit tonight to Ayr. If I was to sit back on the couch and look back at how the year went, I think it went maybe a little better than expected. I thought we had a very good team from day one. I was pretty sure we'd be able to challenge for a title and, you know, get to the Final Four. And in one game shots, who knows? So to actually win the league by 21 points was, you know, I didn't really think we were going to win it like that. I thought we played very well all year long, and I think, you know, you have to have a few lucky elements to keep staying healthy, to be able to keep winning, and on the overall basis, we did stay pretty healthy. I mean, we were missing guys here and there, but never 3, 4, and 5 guys at one time. So, you know, we needed some luck along the way, and I think some other teams beat each other at the right times for us to keep pulling away. And, you know, I'm pretty pleased with everybody's performances, but I mean, in my eyes, the playoffs means a lot. And they're gonna have to really pull up their socks because every team is gonna be gunning for us. You know, they put their best foot forward when they have to come into our rink and play us because they know they have to do that to have a chance. So, I mean, it just makes life a little bit more difficult for us. But we have 3 huge home games first before we go on the road, and we'd love to win them all.
The season, well, other than Sunday's Challenge Cup final, it's been a tremendous success. I mean, building off what the team accomplished last year, we came in from the start of the season with a good bunch of guys, good group of guys, and, you know, start of the season, obviously losing our first game 9-3 to London isn't what we wanted to have happen, but from then on we kind of got things rolling, and, you know, to win the Super League regular season championship by, you know, 25 points clear or whatever it was, I mean, it's tremendous, you know, honor for us to do something like that, and up to this point it's been great.
I think it's been on a scale 1 to 10. I think right now we're at an 8. I think winning the league was a great thing. Coming up short in that Challenge Cup didn't feel too good, but I think overall right now that the way that we're playing and the way the season did go, I think good 8, 9 out of 10.
Well, I mean, it's kind of been up and down for us. I guess we had such a great regular season, and you know, we played well all the way up to the last game there in the Challenge Cup final, and that was kind of frustrating to lose that, especially at home. But I mean, all in all, it's been a great season so far, and you know, we got the playoffs coming up here, and we're looking forward to kind of redeeming ourselves here.
Well, it's been outstanding. I mean, you know, when you win the league and so on, you get the Challenge Cup. I know we didn't win the Challenge Cup, but we got into the Challenge Cup and we won the league by such a huge amount. It's been a great season. It's also been a great season because we were able to bring an exceptional squad into the United Kingdom for one of the best squads that's ever been assembled here. And Dave will still do some tinkering over the summer to keep working on it. The complication is when you do as well as we've done this year, then your players become prime targets, so it makes his life even more difficult because it will be hard to hold on to some of our players.
You could be the best coach in the world, and if you don't have the players that go out and do the job for you every night, you're still never going to win. But it's, you know, so all the credit goes to all the players, it really does. I love that part of the job in the summertime, building that team, and because I really do. I really enjoy that side of my job. And it's very pleasing when everything kind of comes together and everybody plays well for one another. And the team is a bunch of players who become great friends, not just for here, but, you know, throughout the rest of your life. And that's another pleasing part of my job. And I think to go out there and get the right personalities to fit together is very pleasing. I know this year's team, if you were to say 10 years from now, I'll bet you most of them still keep in contact with one another. And I think that's what it's all about.
The Challenge Cup final didn't go to plan, but it was the only disappointment in a hugely successful season that saw the Giants entertain some of the top teams in Europe and help the development of the GB national squad as they make their preparations for the World Championships and hopefully qualification for the 2006 Olympics. The Giants fans are widely regarded as the best in the Super League, and they were rewarded with the biggest prize in the sport, the Seconda Super League Championship. First there was hockey, then came the Odyssey, and then there were Giants.